much, and good evening, everybody. I am very excited to be with you. My name is Pam Smith, and I currently work with Heinemann and do a lot of work with schools and districts throughout the nation in the area of reading and writing instruction. So I'm excited to share a little more, or give you just a very general overview of Fountas and Pinnell phonics and word study lessons. And one of the things that governs everything Fountas and Pinnell, their entire literacy suite of resources, is this idea of the single most important factor in a student's reading success is a skillful, informed teacher. And, you know, teachers have to know a whole lot about a whole lot, and every kid is unique and different that is sitting in their classroom. And so they have to have a skill set that is going to help each and every one of those individuals develop their reading life. So when we talk about the Fountas and Pinnell phonics and word study lessons, I want to make sure, just to kind of frame it and put it in context for everybody, that, you know, if we're looking at a picture of a school day, the phonics and word study lessons is, that instruction is delivered in a small segment of time, one time during the day. However, the instruction of phonics and word study and spelling and all of that needs to be reinforced and revisited across the school day. So it should never be a one-time experience in any one school day for our kiddos. So the way Fountas and Pinnell phonics and word study is structured, it is designed around 9 categories of learning. And these categories of learning, they are cumulative, if you will. And so what happens is we start with the very, from the very basic, and as we go up in category, the skills required to do, to produce that type of sound, word, that sort of thing increases in complexity. So the first category is early learning concepts. And this is some examples of the work that we do here is, you know, print versus print, how print works, the one-to-one correspondence. And so just one of the many things that we use in helping students develop these early learning concepts, we use their names. So starting in pre-K, we want to use students' names because, number one, that's engaging for them and it gets their attention. So using student names is an effective tool that we use to, you know, teach these early learning concepts. The next category then is phonological awareness and phonemic awareness. And there's oftentimes confusion centered around these two, this category, if you will. But really, at its very basic form, what we're talking about here is we're talking about sounds, and down to the very, you know, the smallest unit of sound, which is the, you know, the letter sound, if you will. And so there's extensive work in read alouds and shared reading, and that is done within the phonics, spelling, and word study time, but it's also done across the school day so we can reinforce and give kids multiple opportunities for practice. We're also going to be using songs and poems, and then we use engaging games to reinforce the word work students are doing. The third category is letter knowledge, and this is recognizing as well as writing letters. And so name puzzles, sorts, magnetic letters are some of the tools, if you will, that we will use here. But one of the things that the letter knowledge category is designed around is this idea that it is the verbal path to writing. And so, you know, when we are learning sounds and we're learning letters, you know, it's really a two-directional experience, if you will. So we go from, when we're reading, we go from the visual to the auditory. So we see it first, and then we try to make the sounds that associate with what we see. And then also from the auditory to the visual. So if you think about spelling, a lot of times we hear the word first, or we hear the letter first, and then we have to figure out what symbols correspond to the sounds we're hearing. And so letter knowledge, it really serves as that verbal path to writing. The next category is letter-sound relationships, and within this category, what we are teaching is we're teaching the visual representations of sounds, we're teaching vowels, we're also teaching beginning and ending consonants. And some of the ways that we go about doing that is, using pocket charts and games, along with several other strategies. The next category is word meaning, and here we focus on synonyms, homophones, expanded vocabulary, concept words like color words, days of the week, that sort of thing. The next category is high frequency words, and with high frequency words, which are sometimes called sight words as well, we really want fluent recognition in both reading and writing. And so the instruction that builds across a school year and across multiple school years, really the instruction is designed with this in mind, that we really strive for the fluent recognition in reading and writing. So how do we do that with kids? Well, they're going to use magnetic letters, word sorts. We're going to locate them in words and letters in poems, stories, songs, etc. And again, all of these categories, while we have specific explicit instruction and lessons designed to teach, we also expect that all of this is going to be reinforced across the school day. The next category is spelling patterns. And with spelling patterns, we're going to look at things like phonograms and reliable patterns. But we're going to use sorts and we're going to use magnetic letters. So some examples here would be at, an, ake, ike, that sort of thing. Word structure is our next category, and this is how we learn simple to complex patterns. We also experience compound words and plurals, and as you see, as we're going through the categories, what's expected and required of students is increasing in complexity. So with word structure, we are building words as a way of accomplishing this. We're also locating words across the day in every way, in every location possible. And then we lead up to category 9, which is our word-solving actions. And the word-solving actions really is designed to teach those in-the-head actions, those behaviors, those reading behaviors that's really difficult for a teacher to actually see. And so it's also, the word-solving actions is all about word parts and making connections. So with this, we would take words apart. So we might recognize in one word, we might recognize a smaller word, if you will, within a word. Another strategy that is employed is, changing the first letter or changing the last letter. How does it change the word? And so forth. And so all of the lessons are designed based on these 9 categories of learning. And the first 3 categories are really those basic foundational skills, and those are most prevalent in pre-K and kindergarten and first grade. And so the lessons in the kindergarten and first grade system is going to focus very heavily in those 3 categories. And then as we progress in grades, because with the Fountas and Pinnell phonics and word study, it spans grades K to 3. However, Fountas and Pinnell have a comprehensive spelling and word study guide that really kind of serves as a scope and sequence from grades K to 8. So again, designed around these 9 categories of learning. So how does Fountas and Pinnell phonics and word study help teachers teach students with dyslexia? One of the things that I noticed is the majority of the questions that you guys submitted centered on dyslexia, and how is this going to help teachers teach my child who has dyslexia? So, I want to go ahead, I want to make the connection for you. And, the International Dyslexia Association describes effective reading instruction for students with dyslexia. And what they recommend and what they say is the absolute, the structure that works, if you will, is this idea of structured literacy. And what structured literacy is, it really is at the heart of it. It's going to teach kids decoding, but it's going to start with, the normal progression. As we need to learn how, we need to learn what letters are before we can learn what they sound like. We need to learn what letters are before we can put them together to make words and that sort of thing. So they really, really believe that this idea of structured literacy is going to prepare kids to decode words in an explicit and systematic manner. And so what I would add to that is it's not just good for students with dyslexia, it's actually good for all kids. And so structured literacy is really made up of 6 elements, if you will. The first being phonology. And, this goes back to that phonological awareness and phonemic awareness. But phonology is that study of sound structure of spoken words. And phonological awareness includes things like rhyming, counting words in a spoken sentence, or clapping syllables in spoken words. And an important aspect of phonological awareness is phonemic awareness. And phonemic awareness is the ability to segment words into their component sounds, if you will, and which are called phonemes, by the way. And a phoneme is that smallest unit of sound in our language. The second element that is within structured literacy is sound symbol association. And so once students have developed this awareness of phonemes, and so when they see they see the letter K and they understand that it makes the K sound. So once they're able to do that, then what they have to learn is how to map those phonemes to the symbol or the letter that represents that sound. And so they have to know that the K goes with the letter K. And so that's the natural, sequential, systematic approach to teaching kids how to read. And this is where it starts. The third element is syllable instruction. And so instruction here includes teaching of the 6 basic syllable types in our language. But what's important to note about syllable instruction is that knowledge of syllable types is an important organizing idea. It helps kids chunk things, chunk words. And so this is how, they can take words apart, which might aid them in, being able to more accurately spell a word or pronounce a word, if you will. And so the next one is morphology. And a morpheme is that smallest unit of meaning in the language. And so in a structured literacy curriculum, you're going to see an inclusion of the study of base words, roots, prefixes, suffixes, and things like that. The next one is syntax. And syntax is the set of principles that dictate the sentence and function of the words in a sentence in order to convey meaning. So here we go from the sound, and now we're progressing to what the actual meaning of a word is. And then we end up with semantics. And semantics is that aspect of language, again, concerned with meaning. And so we know that what we teach has to include instruction in the comprehension of written language. And so this idea of structured literacy is really threaded throughout Fountas and Pinnell phonics and word study. And so the structured literacy is distinctive in the principles that guide how we deliver the instruction. And so it is systematic and it's cumulative. And within Fountas and Pinnell phonics and word study, it is definitely systematic, and in that you are going to start with, there's a certain organization of materials. It's going to follow a logical order. And so we know we need to learn the sound, we need to learn the letter, we need to learn, we're going to progress. And so the instruction has to take place that way. The second principle is explicit instruction. And within Fountas and Pinnell phonics and word study, this is designed to be for the teacher to deliver explicit instruction. So what that implies is that a teacher is not going to assume that students are going to just figure things out on their own. The explicit instruction is going to ensure that the teacher knows that the student knows. And the third principle is diagnostic teaching. And within Fountas and Pinnell phonics and word study, There's a complete assessment guide that comes with each grade level set, and it allows teachers to assess down to the individual student level and to design instruction based on the results of those assessments. And so the instruction that takes place within Fountas and Pinnell Phonics and Word Study is based on careful and continuous assessment, both informally through observation and such, and then formally, with the actual assessment guide, but also across the school day. Because our goal here is that we want automaticity. We want students to, we want them to be able to recognize sounds and letters and be able to read a letter every time the right way. And so that's our goal, and that's where we want to get to.
Pam, thank you so much. Do you have any last wrap up? We have about a minute left.
This is it right here. This is my wrap up. But what phonics lessons and word study lessons is going to help our kids do is demonstrate understanding of the organization and basic features of print, starting at that very basic sound and letter point. It's also going to help them demonstrate understanding of spoken words, syllables, and sounds. It's going to help them know and apply grade level phonics and word analysis skills in decoding words. And again, that's across the day, and that's to set them up for a reading life. And then it's going to help them read with sufficient accuracy and fluency to support comprehension of what they're reading. And so that's a very brief and broad overview, if you will, of the phonics and word study lessons designed by Fountas and Pinnell. And I greatly appreciate the opportunity to share this information with you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you so much.